Hey everyone, welcome back to our YouTube channel AQIB TJ. Today, we're diving into a hot topic, is the US heading into a recession? Part 2. If you care about jobs, prices, or the global economy, this video is for you. What if I told you, the world's largest economy might be heading toward a slowdown? Are we about to see another recession in the United States, or is this just fear and hype? Let's break it down in simple terms. Before we go further, let's understand what a recession actually is. A recession is when economic activity slows down for a prolonged period. This usually means falling GDP, rising unemployment, lower spending. In simple words, people spend less, businesses earn less, and jobs become harder to find. Signs of a U.S. recession. 1. High interest rates. The Federal Reserve has increased interest rates aggressively to fight inflation. Higher rates make loans expensive, which slows down spending and investment. 2. Inflation pressure. Even though inflation has cooled, prices are still high. This reduces purchasing power, meaning people can't buy as much as before. 3. Inverted yield curve. This is one of the strongest recession signals. When short-term interest rates are higher than long-term rates, it often predicts a downturn. 4. Weak consumer confidence. When people feel uncertain about the future, they stop spending. And since consumer spending drives the U.S. economy, this is a big red flag. 5. Job market cracks. While unemployment is still relatively low, layoffs in big companies are increasing. This could be an early warning sign. Is it already happening? Some experts believe the U.S. might avoid a full recession and instead experience a soft landing. Others argue that a slowdown is inevitable due to aggressive monetary policies. Global impact. If the U.S. enters a recession, the effects won't stay there. Countries like Pakistan and others could face lower exports, currency pressure, slower economic growth. Because the U.S. economy influences the entire world. GDP's role in a recession. 1. Main indicator of recession. A recession is commonly defined as 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. That means economy is producing less. Businesses are slowing down. Income and spending are falling. 2. Shows economic health. GDP tells us whether the economy is growing, positive GDP, shrinking, negative GDP. During a recession, GDP declines, signaling economic trouble. 3. Reflects consumer and business activity. GDP is made up of consumer spending, investment, government spending, net exports. If people stop spending or businesses stop investing, GDP falls, recession risk increases. 4. Early warning signal. When GDP growth starts slowing, even before becoming negative, it warns that jobs may be lost soon. Companies may cut production. Economic slowdown is coming. 5. Policy decisions. Institutions like the Federal Reserve and governments use GDP data to cut interest rates, increase spending, stimulate the economy. GDP is like the heartbeat of the economy. When it slows down or turns negative, it's a strong sign that a recession is happening or about to happen. 1. High inflation can also trigger a recession. When inflation rises too much, people can't afford goods. Spending decreases. Businesses earn less. This slowdown in demand can push the economy into a recession. 2. Interest rate hikes, big impact. To control inflation, central banks like the Federal Reserve increase interest rates. This leads to expensive loans, less investment, lower consumer spending. Result, economic slowdown, possible recession. 3. Reduces purchasing power. High inflation means same salary, but higher prices. People buy less. Lower demand businesses cut production layoffs recession risk. 4. Business uncertainty. When inflation is unstable, companies can't predict costs. They delay hiring and investment. This slows economic growth. The U.S. economy is like a machine. Interest rates control speed. Inflation adds pressure. GDP shows performance. If managed carefully, a recession can be avoided or softened, but if policies go too far, it can trigger a downturn. If the U.S. announces quantitative tightening, or QT, it basically means the Federal Reserve is reducing the amount of money flowing into the economy by selling off bonds or stopping reinvestment of maturing assets. Now, what happens? QT tends to raise interest rates, tighten financial conditions, and reduce liquidity. In the short term, that can slow down spending and investment, both big factors in a recession. So, if inflation stays high, QT might help tame it, but it also risks tipping the economy into a deeper downturn if not balanced carefully. The U.S. announces quantitative easing, QE, it's basically the opposite. The Fed injects money into the economy. They do this by buying bonds, which lowers long-term interest rates and pumps liquidity into the system. In a recession, QE can help by making borrowing cheaper, encouraging spending and investment, and boosting asset prices. So, it can soften a recession or even help prevent one by stimulating demand. Of course, if overdone, it risks stoking inflation again, so it's all about balance. It's a real balancing act right now. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. If inflation is still a major threat, which it has been, then QT makes sense because it cools the economy and brings inflation down. But if the economy slows too much, causing unemployment to spike, then a cautious return to QE might be needed to support growth. Ultimately, it depends on how inflation, growth, and unemployment trends are playing out in real time, so the Fed will have to stay flexible. This is all for today's topic. If you tune out more about economy, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. See you soon.